Kill the ants before the ants kill you. And no, I am not talking about the insects. In this video, the ants we're talking about are automatic negative thoughts. Say that with me, automatic negative thoughts. Why are we talking about this? What is the point of making a video to talk about my thoughts? Well, here's what I tell you. As a young person, typically you don't get enough education and you don't get enough teaching along the lines of how your thoughts actually work and how powerful your thoughts are. See, here's the reality. Your thought life will dictate everything that you do. I'm going to say that again. Your thought life, what you think, will dictate everything that you do. So this video, it's specifically to teach you how to control your mind. And if I said it in a spooky sci-fi way, I would say I'm teaching you mind control. All right. But I want you to look at it from this perspective. It's just your thoughts, control. Learning how to control them, learning how to tell them what to do as opposed to them telling you what to do. So what is an automatic negative thought? An automatic negative thought, or an ants, we'll call them in the video, an ant is a thought that literally is immediately negative. And typically they come in bunches, right? So I was just talking with a student yesterday in my coaching program. And, one of the things I've been really just on him to do is, hey, he's a photographer, so he knows how to sell. He learned how to sell his skill. But now we're talking about promoting it. And, he's doing a lot of stuff on social media. He posts so many images, but right now he feels like he kind of plateaus. So I keep telling him, hey, make some videos, share your story, talk about the journey, what you're doing, really engage people, not just in your photos, but in your process. And the thing that is holding him back right now, and we're working through, is that every time he goes to make videos or he thinks about videos, he's like, man, I just think about 4 kids I went to high school with in the basement talking about me. Like, oh, those videos are cringe. Who does he think he is? Those are literally automatic negative thoughts. So he's working with me and we have the opportunity to work through those so he doesn't have to deal with those thoughts at 38. Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and he's someone that we're actually starting to build a closer relationship. But in that conversation, we talked about the power of his thoughts and how negative thoughts were impacting and affecting him. Right now, we didn't get into, when he kind of learned, how to, there are certain exercises to control his thinking and control his thoughts. So I don't know, if he has tools. We didn't get to that. Maybe we'll talk about it, at some point. But the point is, if you don't kill the ants will kill you. And I'm not talking about a physical death, right? I'm not talking about you physically, laid out, somewhere dead. I'm talking about kill your dreams, kill your aspirations, kill your hopes, kill the things that you want to accomplish in life, because they will smother your ideas and they will cause you to play small when you should be playing big. They will cause you to not go after the things that are in your heart to go after. Okay, so this is November. It's my birthday month, but it's also Men's Mental Health Month, right? So I think that this video is very fitting, considering that this is the time of month that we're in. So we've talked about what an automatic negative thought is. So now I want to shift and I want to focus on, hey, how do I get rid of them? How do I control them? How do I make it so that they're not running my life and they're not controlling what I do every day? So let's set the table first, right? So your thought life dictates everything you will do. Okay. And there's a phrase, and I love it. It says that our life will go in the direction of our most dominant thoughts. Let me say that one more time. Our life will go in the direction of our most dominant thoughts. So what thoughts dominate your thinking? And those thoughts can only fall into one of two categories: negative or positive. Negative or positive. Now, so understanding that thoughts control everything, and I want you to think through that for a second, right? Because you saw this video, you saw the thumbnail for it, and then you thought, wow, this might be interesting, or what is this about? Because that thought, it triggered you to press a button. It triggered you to kind of tap in for a second, right? You're controlled by thoughts. Your actions, right? So the actions that you do every day. So for example, let's say you play sports. And if you're a soccer player and every day, you spend, an hour or two working on your game, that habit, that originated with thought. Because at some point you thought, wow, if I'm going to get better, if I'm going to be as good as I want to be, or I want to be as good as I can possibly be, I've got to be disciplined to get out to the field to work and make my game better. So that regimen, that 2 hours a day, that hour a day you spend practicing, it started as a thought. You guys see where I'm going with this? Your thoughts will dictate everything. So if your thoughts dictate everything, why wouldn't you put in the work to exercise them, to control them, so that way your thought life is giving you the best results? Make sense? All right, so let's paint a picture now. So think of your thought life as a garden, okay? So your thought life is a garden, and here's what we know about gardens, right? We know that in order to get good fruit, in order to get fruit that you're gonna, plants that you're gonna enjoy, that you're gonna eat, that are gonna nourish your body, you have to be intentional with that garden. What do I mean? A manicured garden will never be an accident, right? You will never just kind of, just be walking through a forest or walking through woods and just see a garden that is weed free and producing all types of great fruit that wasn't put there on purpose. Okay? Now, that's what good thoughts are. Good thoughts must be intentionally cultivated. Good thoughts must be intentionally planted. They must be taken care of, and they must be guarded. Okay. Again, now this is your mind. And if you want good thoughts, you can't just oops up. You don't just oops up on, a continually or a habitually positive mind. Okay. It's something that you have to take control over. All right, now we're looking at a garden now. When you look at a garden, what automatically wants to grow in a garden without your permission, without your help, without your knowledge, without any effort from you? What wants to grow in your garden? If you said weeds, you are absolutely right. Weeds are negative. Weeds don't provide fruit. Weeds are not plants that are beneficial to your garden. Matter of fact, weeds will come into your garden and they will choke out your plants by the roots, and they will destroy the fruit that you're trying to cultivate. That's how you can look at an automatic negative thought. You can look at it as a weed or weeds in a garden. Now, we are far removed from an agricultural society where, people are just, everybody has a garden, kind of on their property and they're raising fruit. But I want you to think about this. If you were in a position where you were gardening, would you just let weeds come in and destroy your garden? The garden that you plan to eat from, the garden that, is going to nourish you or your family, the garden that's going to provide you with sustenance that will make it so you don't have to go spend money on certain foods because you can plant them in your garden. If you're putting in the effort to create a garden, right? Because we already said that the garden is going to take your effort. So if you already need to put in effort for this garden, wouldn't you make sure that you weed it? Wouldn't you make sure that, if you got some beautiful watermelon plants or you got strawberry plants, wouldn't you put things in place, maybe fences, and fences are more so to keep the animals out, but, different, and they have tomatoes, you got to put them in the tomato, I don't want to call them a stalk, but it's like a tomato contraption where your tomatoes grow up a vine, right? You're going to be intentional to make sure that you keep those weeds out of your garden. So how do you keep automatic negative thoughts out of your mind? How do you keep them from taking root and choking out the good things in your life? So boom, first strategy, talk, speak. Now, typically your automatic negative thoughts, when you're alone, that's really when they try to bombard you. So I'm going to tell you straight up, I talk to myself. I talk to myself often, and I talk to myself loud, and I talk to myself kindly and in a positive way. Okay. So boom, let's say right now I'm making this video. And before I made this video, it is funny because automatic negative thoughts, even if you're aware of them and even if you have control over them, they don't stop coming. So that's a side note. So they're never going to just stop because weeds never just get to the point where you know what, man, that guy, Daniel, he is always cutting us down, always pulling us up by the root. We're just not even going to try his garden no more. No, it never happens, right? So I'm getting ready to make this video. Automatic negative thought. Don't spend the time making that video. Don't go to the studio. It's not going to help anybody. But here's the reality. I said, no, like I am going because young people, and not even just young people, people in general, they need to hear this message. So I'm going to go record it and I'm going to put it on YouTube. And so I talk. I speak out loud the opposite of the negative thought. I speak out loud and I talk until I get control of my mind. Once I have control of my mind, it's like, all right, yeah, that thought, it can't stay there. It's out of there. Boom, I've dealt with it. And sometimes they'll try to come back and I will speak to them again, right? So first strategy is speak the opposite, speak the positive opposite of the negative thought, okay? Because there's two things. Number one, once you start talking, it is hard to think thoughts that are contrary. It's hard to think thoughts that are not what you're saying. So just in general, as soon as you start talking, you're going to think about what you're saying. So that's automatically going to shift your thought. But then as you start speaking positive things, your mind is going to latch on to the words. And now you'll start to see the positive and think in the positive results. Okay, so that's strategy number one, is to speak out loud. Strategy number two is, what are you putting in your mind? What do you allow in your mind, especially during passive time? Now, what do I mean by passive time? I mean, what do you listen to when you're kind of doing nothing, when you're kind of just, lounging around? If what you're listening to, whether it be music, whether it be television, whether it be social media, if what you consume in your passive time, if it tends and is predominantly negative, it's going to produce negative thoughts, which will produce negative actions. Does that make sense? So number two, be very intentional on what you consume. Be extremely intentional on what you listen to. Be extremely intentional on who you listen to. Okay, so you might have people in your life that are always saying negative things. Well, if you can help it, do your best to spend less time with them. Okay, you may be watching YouTubers, you may be watching people on social media that literally all they talk about is something negative. Get away from them. Unsubscribe. Like I'm telling you, that is one of the greatest and most aggressive actions that in this day and age somebody can take in their life, is simply hitting the unsubscribe or the block button. I'm telling you, there's people right now watching this video that there's about probably 5 to 10 unsubscribes or blocks that if you made in your life would literally unfog your mind, would literally help you think clearer, help you think more positive, because you wouldn't have that negativity entering into your thoughts. Okay, so boom, number two is, be mindful of what you're putting in your mind. You would never bring weed seeds to your garden and just strewn them about your garden. Just weeds everywhere. You would never do that. But we do that with our minds. So stop. Okay. Now, number three, right? This strategy, and this is the last one. The third strategy is going to be find positive, like-minded people. Be intentional. Build a community around you. Build a network of people around you that are doing the work, right? And some people are doing the work and they don't even know it, because maybe they grew up in environments where there were positive people. There was positive thinking. Maybe they just have, kind of always been like, hey, it's better to be positive than negative. Find those people. Be intentional to find those people. Once you find those people, be intentional to build relationships and build community with those people, because those are the people that can help to change the direction of your life. They can help to put you in a thought space where you're thinking positively more often than not. Okay, so boom, those were 3 tips to help you to kill the ants. And I'm not talking about the animals. I mean, it's funny. I don't kill ants every time I see them. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But when it comes to your mind and when it comes to automatic negative thoughts, do not let them stay around, because if you can capture this at a young age, if you're watching this and you're in your teens or early 20s and you understand the power that your mind has to produce the results of your life, if you understand how that works, then you're able to start building habits of addressing the negative thoughts when they come and not letting them fester in your mind. I'm telling you, the trajectory of your life will just change in a completely different and completely positive way. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I am Best Bet Dan. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments, did this video hit for you? I want to know. So hit the like button if you enjoyed it, but I'll be back on the next one. Until then, yo, keep tapping in because I want to help young people create the skills that give them the best bet to create the life of their dreams. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at bestbetdan. Hit me up. Later.